It is cold in the old barn, so I thought I'd finally have a look at my Andonstar digital inspection microscope and do a little review video inside where it isn't cold and drafty. I got this microscope last summer for Banggood's 13th anniversary, so I had it for a while now. So it is about time I made a review video and tell you what I think about this microscope. I mainly use this microscope to look at lathe inserts, these things, and some other tool bits. But most people will probably use this for PCB soldering jobs. But it is probably better for everyone if I keep my hands away from the soldering iron. I've seen it used in other videos, and it looks like it is doing a decent job as a soldering help. The long lens gives you lots of room for the workpiece. Catch. Don't worry, I'm not going to do an unboxing. I've already done that in a previous video. I just wanted to say that this is a good box and the microscope is well protected inside. Lots of foam, and as you can see, this one took a hit here and it didn't hurt the microscope one bit. So even when it's only wrapped in a plastic bag, like so many Chinese companies seem to do, the microscope does stand a good chance of surviving the journey home. Apart from the microscope or stand with lights, you also get a whole bunch of cables. This is a HDMI cable. I hooked it up once to the television. It works, but this built-in screen, it switches off. But to be honest, I don't believe in using an external monitor or a laptop or smartphone. I think an inspection microscope should work standalone. This is the data cable to transfer the data from the micro SD card to the computer. And I recommend using this because the micro SD card is rather difficult to get out, and you might launch it into a low Earth orbit if you try to take it out. And this here is the USB power cable with built-in remote control to switch the microscope on and off, and to dim the lights. You also get a flimsy manual that isn't great, and a remote control, but more about that later. Let's hook up the USB power cable. This lead is power for the lights. And the other lead goes to the digital bits. Mine didn't come with the correct USB power supply. I got a English power adapter, and that was pretty much useless, so I threw it in the trash. Here comes the power. Now, I'm not a big fan of this cable arrangement. It looks a bit messy. I would very much prefer a single cable and some controls integrated into the base of the microscope. That would look much cleaner. I will dim the lights a bit. That probably looks better on camera. I will make a recording of this session so I can also show you the video quality. The ability to record video is actually one of the important reasons why I chose this microscope. The recording is running now. You can see that by that blinking red light. I like these fully adjustable lights. They allow you to play with the shadows and the highlights. I think they are better than those integrated fixed LED lights that are around the circumference of the lens. Lots of digital inspection microscope seem to have those. Alright, that's enough. The video is recorded in 1080p, but the quality looks more like 720p, scaled up to full HD. You might be able to get better video quality if you can capture the output from the integrated HDMI port, but that is not something I'm planning to try. I don't have the equipment for that. Besides, I think the video quality is good enough as it is. It's just too bad audio isn't recorded, because that would make editing videos a lot easier. Also, scientific types might like a feature like that to record notes. So Andonstar, if you are listening, maybe that's something for the future. Let's have a look at the remote control. I hardly ever use this thing. Most of the important functions can be controlled from the screen here. But I do believe this is the only way to access the onboard menu system. Not that you need to configure a whole lot of things here. Sharpness, contrast, color, and a date stamp. I switch off the date stamp because I don't like a time and date stamp in my pictures. But you can also configure those settings with these quick buttons here. This one is for sharpness and contrast, black and white, invert the colors. Not really useful stuff. To access the second column in the menu system, do not press the button to the right like shown here, because that doesn't do anything. You need to press the menu button again, and that is rather annoying and it had me confused for a while. I started to think that the button here was a defect. I configured the date and time. Language was already set to English. The TV mode, PAL NTSC. I don't know if that is still relevant these days. I didn't bother with that. I did set the frequency to 50 Hz, because that is what we use over here. The format function is useful, because the micro SD card can get corrupt when you do not switch off the microscope properly. I highly recommend using the on-off switch and not pull out the USB power lead. I'll switch off the crosshairs. I don't believe they are very useful. Let's see. The left and right buttons here are for dialing in a bit of exposure compensation. The up and down buttons here are for digital zooming. Don't go any higher than 2 or 3 times max Higher than that it starts to look like Minecraft. The mode button here is for switching between microscope modes. Currently it is in camera mode, indicated by that icon. If you press the mode button, it switches to camera mode, camera icon. Press it again and you're in file mode, where you can browse the files that are on the SD card. But there is no SD card at the moment. Let's see. The OK button starts a video recording, but there's no memory card. The red button here is not the off switch, it takes a picture. Again, no SD card. And it might help if you want to avoid a camera shake or a microscope shake in this case. Although, to be honest, I never had any problems with blurry pictures because of any movement. And I think that is largely due to the rigidity of this camera. It might be one of its best features. I'll quickly go through the on-screen menu buttons now. Off button, you need to hold it for a few seconds. The mode switching button. These two are for digital zooming. The OK button, it is for starting and stopping a video recording. And the shutter button for taking a picture. I highly recommend using the off switch, otherwise you will end up with corrupted video files. According to the user manual, this microscope can do up to 560 times magnification, and that is with a 22-inch monitor. With a 22-inch monitor, I guess it will be even higher with a bigger monitor. That number probably also includes the digital zoom, and well, digital zoom isn't very useful if you ask me. But what is the magnification when using the internal monitor? Let's try to find out. The height of the monitor is 60, maybe 61 millimeters. The highest magnification ratio will be reached when the lens is at the lowest position. And at this point I'm measuring a bit more than 3 millimeters, say 3.5 millimeters. So when you divide 61 by 3.5, that is a magnification of little more than 17 times optical. Now let's move the lens all the way up to the highest point. This dial, by the way, feels very positive, but it gets a little bit tighter when you get near the highest point. Probably because it is never used up there. The focus ring also has a very positive feel to it, and together with the decent Full HD monitor, focusing becomes a breeze. Alright, at this point I see 10 millimeters, so 61 divided by 10, that's about a 6-time magnification. According to the manual, the lens can focus between 5 centimeters and 22 centimeters. This is 13 something, so you could even install a riser block and create even more working space. Overall, the Andonstar ADSM302 has been a joy to use. even though the magnification number doesn't even come close to the levels of a real optical microscope. Sure, there is room for improvement, but hey, I'm Dutch and we always find something to complain about. Mostly the weather though. It sucks at the moment. I am convinced that this is a whole lot more useful than one of those cheap dildo lookalikes without a stand or monitor. But on the other hand, this is also a lot more expensive, but that is probably true for all good tools. Perhaps you can find a good deal for one of these on Black Friday, because everyone should have one of these in the workshop, if you ask me. Preferably bought through my affiliated links, of course, because that would help my channel out a bit. Well, that's it for me. I will shut up now. This video is long enough and probably not really interesting anyway. So till next time.